Hey everybody, today is Thursday, June 5th, and you are watching Friends List on Polygon. I am Alexia Correa, I report the news, and I'm here with Michael Moore.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing today?
Good.
Good? You're good? I'm having a sad Thursday, and I'd like to talk about why I'm having a sad Thursday. So Amazon yesterday put up a listing, a placeholder listing for The Last Guardian. And it broke my heart a little and just dredged up all those sad feelings. And I was hoping maybe we could talk about The Last Guardian because it seems like a lot of people still very much care about that game, even though it's sort of been in development purgatory. Do you care about The Last Guardian, Michael Moore?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's just one of those games that, what was it? It was like 3 years ago? Was it? It was
3 years ago. So
yeah, like E3 like 3 years ago when they first showed, a trailer because there'd been rumors of it was called Trico, since all their games I guess had been called like based on Ico. So it was like Ico, I think Duco, and then Trico like were the code names. And then I guess when it hit, it was such a like interesting trailer with the giant like dragon dog
bird thing. Yeah.
And just like everyone being like, oh, okay, I think this is going to be amazing based on what you guys have done before. Like, it was just, it just like hit everyone, and we seem to not be able to forget that.
It's super crappy, but yeah, no, it was announced at E3 2009, but they said at the time that it had been in development since 2007. So if you think about it that way, the game has been in development for 7 years? No, that's wrong.
It's 7 years now. If it started 2007, yeah, it's about 7 years now. I mean, then it would have been 2 years.
2 years. So it's been 7 years, and then they said at the time that it was a PlayStation 3 exclusive. Well, we're like into the PlayStation 4 era now, and then Ueda left Sony not too long ago, a couple of years ago, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Ueda left Sony, and since then we haven't really heard anything definitive. I know that last year at E3, Jack Tretton said that it was on hiatus, and then Shuhei Yoshida came back and was sort of like, no, those are misleading. It's actually in active development. So as of a year ago, it was in active development, and then we heard during the PlayStation 4 or around the PlayStation 4 launch time back in October, Shuhei actually said that the game was in a re-engineering phase and Sony is waiting for the appropriate way to reintroduce it. Do you think that could mean PlayStation 4? Like, is there a possibility that that game is now a PlayStation 4 exclusive?
I feel like when we finally see this game, and we sort of talked about this in the office a little bit, I think it'll probably be PS4. I don't see like how it wouldn't be. It'll probably also be PS3. It'll probably be downloadable, and it's probably only going to be a couple of hours long.
Downloadable?
Yeah.
Why? What makes you think that?
I just think because like how much money they've spent, I don't think they're going to also sink in the cost for the retail. And also, when you stick it on, you just make it download only, they can sell it for like $15, $20, and that's not a big deal. That's a little harder to sort of recoup cost-wise at retail if you're trying to sell something for $15, $20 at retail.
Yeah, but don't you think that like now that The Last Guardian has like mystical unicorn status, don't you think that if they launched it, they would launch it at retail, assuming that so many people have bought into mystical unicorn status that they'll be like, yup, $60, finally I'm getting it. You don't think that they'd go that route?
I don't think so. I think especially if you look at what happened with the new Metal Gear Phantom Pain. No. Ground Zeroes. Ground Zeroes. Like, it was the thing where we were like, okay, it's going to be like a fairly decently long game. And then they're like, oh yeah, but it's going to be like $40. And it was like, okay, that's a little weird, but all right. And then you played it and you're like, oh, it's only like really a couple of hours to get, like it's like 2-3 hours to get through the story. Like, and everyone was like, really guys? Like there's a lot of other stuff, but like really you're just playing Metal Gear games for the story.
Yeah.
But like, so I think, especially looking at that, I don't see, I mean, if Konami wasn't going to get away with it with Metal Gear, I don't think they're going to try it even with, I mean, maybe they could sell it for 30 or 40. They could do the same thing and sell it at retail for 30 or 40, but it just seems like a safer bet to just put it on like PSN. I mean, they have that. They have complete control over it. They can just, throw it up there.
I mean, I see your point, and that absolutely makes sense that they would do something like that for sort of like financial purposes. But like, let's think about like so many of us care, and I think in order to sort of explain why The Last Guardian means so much to us, we have to sort of look at the scope of like other mystical unicorn games. Like The Last Guardian isn't the only game that we're waiting on, and there's precedent for this. And there's I feel like we're in sort of the era of game development hell where last decade we got a bunch of announcements and now it's 2014, we're in the next console generation, and we're sort of sitting here going, what happened to all these games? I can't go one friend list without bringing up Final Fantasy. So Final Fantasy 15 announced in 2006 as Final Fantasy Versus 13. We heard nothing. Fast forward to E3 2013, they release a trailer that looks amazing. It looks great, and now it's called Final Fantasy 15. They just bumped it to another numbered entry in the franchise. And that game, like, we haven't heard anything. Like, we don't know if we're going to see it this year. Doesn't appear like we haven't heard anything leading up to it. So if it's playable, like, we'll find out when it's there. It looks like it's also a PlayStation 4 exclusive. It was announced as a PS3 exclusive, and well, no, it's coming to Final Fantasy 15 is coming to Xbox One as well. But the first one was a PlayStation 3 exclusive, and people ran out and bought their PS3s for Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy Versus 13 and The Last Guardian, and the whole console generation went by, and we didn't see them. So here we are. Another game that people are sort of holding their breath on is Blizzard's Titan, their next MMO.
Titan. I always forget about Titan.
People forget about Titan. But I was talking with Sumit earlier today, and I was like, what? Like, what's happening with, like, these mystical unicorn games? And he's like, yeah, Blizzard's Titan. And I was just like, yeah, like, that game was announced how long ago? In 2007. They acknowledged... that Blizzard acknowledged the existence of a new in development MMO in 2007.
Yeah, they've been just plugging away on that thing. I remember, like, shortly after it sort of got revealed that, like, yeah, we're working on this thing. It's called Project Titan. They hired one of, like, the heads of PopCap at the time. I think this was just before EA bought them, or it may have been just after. And it was like, oh, and it was like, so wait, does that mean, like, it's going to be sort of a more casual MMO? Like, they're going to push WoW more, like, hardcore and then sort of skew this more casual? I guess I would assume at least with Titan was they've just been trying to figure out what they're doing with it, because, like, WoW became sort of the casual MMO because so many people were playing it.
Right. Well, last year, right before E3, they, like, gutted the staff. Now it's like a 30-person staff, and they're resetting They said they were resetting development, and they're making all these design and tech changes for it. So, like, they completely reset development. That probably means we're not going to hear anything about it this year. Like, who knows? I mean, Blizzard has Heroes of the Storm right now, like, in alpha, and then Hearthstone is doing amazing, so they're probably focused on that. Like, I don't really know. Like, Titan, bleh. I feel like 2006 and 2007 were the mystical unicorn years. Those were the years that they were like, unicorns exist, and now we're here and we're like, where are our unicorns?
Yeah, there were the years of, like, I guess it was because it was a couple years into the new console generation at that point, which was PS3 and Xbox 360. And so it was everyone sort of like, okay, here's what we're going to be doing. Like, here's the big things that we're going to do now that we have all this power and that we know kind of what to do with it. We're finally going to push everything. We're going to do these amazing things. We're going to have these giant dog dragon bird cat,
things,
rat thing. And, you know, we're going to do these amazing, we're going to have, like, a Final Fantasy 13, then we're gonna have a Versus 13 that's like an alternate universe,
and then Agito,
maybe,
which we never got.
Agito, and then
where's
like,
that?
we're gonna have all of these things. We're gonna promise the moon, and then I think it was, I guess the economy and everything just sort of dragged on for a really long time.
Yeah,
and then we're where we are now.
I mean, so sort of honing back in on The Last Guardian and, like, why so many people, like, that listing went up on Amazon yesterday, and it just, I forget who reported, some site reported on it and was like, oh no, I think I found it on Reddit or something, and it was like, there's another placeholder for The Last Guardian on Amazon with, like, the December 31st 2014 placeholder release date, and then it's like cover art subject to change, and I just, seeing that listing just broke my heart. Like, it's just memories and hope and dreams and, like, dredging all that back up. And I tweeted it, and the response was the same. People, like, oh my God, no, don't do this to me. Like, why do we care so much about The Last Guardian specifically? Like, why is that like the king of the mystical unicorn moon babies that we're waiting for?
I think what it is looking at Shadow of the Colossus. So I didn't end up playing it until like I think I was in grad school when I ended up playing it. I ended up playing it on like a PS3. But I think for a lot of people when it came out, which was I guess 2005, I want to say 2005, 2006. I played it at E3 2004 when it was still Wanda and the Colossi.
That.
Yeah, but I think for a lot of people, it was one of those first. I think it was the first like one of those first games where like it really hit home emotionally, where you had a game that like really did something to you emotionally for like it was that game. I think a lot of people, there was some when they were younger when they were playing like JRPGs and stuff, and I think that was sort of when you're in your sort of adolescence and you're sort of figuring out things. That was the one that like it was like oh, this is like really powerful and really like it really hit people emotionally. And then I think even Ico, when they went back and played Ico, it did that with Ico. And so everyone, coming to Trico, to The Last Guardian, to that trailer and knowing what they had done in the past and seeing what they were sort of presenting of like, oh, you're this little kid and you have this giant like emoting dragon dog cat bird thing. And
what
you're like,
is it? We need to figure out what that is.
I think they refer to it as a dragon. I think that's what they were calling it. But it, it looks like a dog, but it has kind of a rat tail. But it also, I don't know, it's weird. But like, you're seeing that sort of relationship and sort of like understanding, like, okay, in Ico, it was I can't remember her name. Like you're leading, what's her name around. And then in the second game, and then in Shadow, it was, you and Argo, and you had this horse, and like you didn't really do much with the horse aside from ride around. But like when things happened to the horse, you felt them, especially towards the end. And then, so like understanding like sort of how they do relationship stuff and like the emotional impact, you just sort of looked at that and were like, oh, this is going to hurt. Like, I remember there being a Penny Arcade comic that was literally like, this game is going to end one of two ways. The kid is going to die, or the dragon is going to die, and in either case, we're going to be fucked.
I just, games with the feels and the emotions. I just don't, so this is my worry about The Last Guardian and why and that it wraps into us caring about it so much and what's been going on this year. 2014, we are 6 months into 2014. Today's June 5th. We've gone through 5 months of delays. Everything is getting delayed. Evil Within got delayed to later this year. Batman got pushed to 2015. Dying Light got pushed to 2015. What else got pushed to 2015? The Order? The Order got pushed to 2015.
The Order got pushed.
Yeah, The Order got pushed to 2015.
Yeah, there's been like five or six games in the last like month or two.
Yeah,
it's been like pushed to 2015.
2014 is the year of please wait. Like everything that has been promised us this year is getting pushed to next year. And my fear is that a lot of these games are going to keep getting like sort of the games that don't seem to have formed yet. Like I've read all the stuff on The Order that's come out so far, but I don't feel like I know what it is just yet. And I feel like games that are sort of still that ephemeral to us, we'll just keep getting pushed back. And you're like, oh, we need more time to work on it. We got to make it better. And then we're going to end up with, in 2017 or whatever, when we're sitting in that press conference with like gray hair or whatever, they're going to be like, okay, finally, here's a new trailer for The Order or whatever. Like I don't think that's. I don't want to say I don't think that's okay, but I think that that's happening. Not like, I mean, delays are good, but I think this whole like we announced it like the premature announcement, and now we're 7 years ahead. I think that's. I mean, it's good that you're working on the game, and it's good that Sony and Square and Blizzard and what other companies that are doing this are like taking the time to really work and make sure that these experiences are amazing. But I think at some point the development process, it's just so dragged out that like you have to wonder how much they're sinking into it, and if it's not working, if they should maybe abandon it or scale it down. This hits us hard. Like gamers love their games, and we really dig into series and dig into games like Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. But like, how long is too long before like like we stop caring. Like if there's no news on The Last Guardian this year at Sony's press conference, you know, every journalist at the show is going to be swarming Shu and everyone and be like, hey, Last Guardian, you didn't show it. What's going on? And are we going to leave that show either being like, oh, the game is canceled, or, oh, it's still in development, and then how many of us are still going to care and how many of us are going to lose faith? Like, what is the balance there?
I think as long as they don't say it's canceled, anyone's going to care. We're always going to care. Look at Duke Nukem Forever. That was like 10 years. They never said they canceled it. It was always in development. We always cared. Like, as long as there's never, like, even if they said it was canceled, we still might continue to care. Like Mirror's Edge came out and there was like no possibility of them ever making a sequel.
Yeah,
like,
and now we're getting.
Yeah, Ricketel was like, I would love to, but it did not do well, guys. Like, I'm sorry, I really want to make another one, but like, it didn't do well.
And then it became a unicorn. People,
yeah, and then it's
people
just like
retroactively were like, oh, Mirror's Edge, and now we're getting a prequel.
Yeah, it was just one of those things that like it's because it's like I feel like there's a lot of Nintendo games that are like this too, where they're the things that we're like yeah, we really want this game, we would love you guys to do them again, and they're just like no, and then they just show up one day, they're like, oh yeah, here it is. You remember that thing you wanted?
We
and
did
we're like,
it.
oh yeah, hey, like Kid Icarus, and like, oh yeah, it's great.
Yep. Still,
Thanks.
I'm hoping that Square will open their eyes and realize that Final Fantasy VI needs an HD remake, full CGI. Let's do it.
Well, didn't they do? No, I'm thinking of a 4 where they did the 3D models.
Yeah, like the 3D models. But just The Last Guardian, like this is the ultimate mystical unicorn moon baby. That's the term that I'm going to coin for these games that are flying around in development limbo. The mystical unicorn moon babies. The Last Guardian is it. And what are the possibilities that this year could be the year that we see it? I mean, Amazon threw up the placeholder. Do you think that's a good indication that something's coming, or should we all just kind of roll our eyes and be like, oh, well, I guess?
I feel like at this point we should probably just continue to take it with a grain of salt. I think
a grain of salt?
It's had enough like dummy, placeholder spots on like probably GameStop and on Amazon or EB Games going back to when EB Games existed. I think actually they still exist. But.
Yeah, no, they do. But like I remember 3 years ago, like GameStop was still taking pre-orders for The Last Guardian. I think it was like 2011 when the game was supposed to come out. And GameStop canceled pre-orders because they didn't get an update, I guess. The whole story was that they didn't get an update on the game's release date. And since it didn't have a release date or a release window from the publisher, they pulled it out of their system and refunded and canceled the pre-orders. And people saw that as like, oh my God, was The Last Guardian just canceled? And there was this big like uproar over like, oh my God, what's going on? And that was in 2011 when we were still sort of in the safety zone of like, here's our targeted release window. But now it's 2014. I don't know if GameStop is taking pre-orders. I don't pre-order mystical unicorn moon babies anymore for that reason. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to ask you a very personal question. If The Last Guardian, if they announce, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if they announce at E3 or someone gets the scoop or whatever that The Last Guardian is done, that it's just they had to let it go? They let it float away. What are you going to do?
I think I'm okay with that.
Why?
Like it's one of those. I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't think it will ever live up to what
we've inflated it to be.
Yeah, I don't think it will ever live up to that idea. Like I don't, and also we don't know a whole lot about the game. Like we know like such a like tiny bit about it. Like it's like, oh, you're this kid in this thing, and like. Maybe if we knew more, it would be harder to sort of let it go. But sort of knowing only what I think it would be is sort of enough.
Okay.
Like, I think I don't know enough that it would be too painful to let it just go.
Let it go.
I think I would be okay.
And what if they show a trailer? What if we get a release date? Do you think, like, are you going to, like, backflip off the earth? Like, you be excited?
I'll be excited. I mean, I'm really looking forward to playing it, but like, I don't know. Like, it's still going to be one of those things where like, even if we get it now, is it what it was going to be. Like, it's one of those things where, like, we're never going to really know what it was, like, what it was meant to maybe truly be.
Yeah. Also, Ueda's not working on it.
Be that thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think for a while after he sort of left Sony, they kept him on sort of freelance.
Yeah, he was consulting or something, but he's not involved in the main development right now. And like, I don't know. Like, if he was still attached to the project, like, definitively, I would be like, yep, don't care, give it to me. There's probably something good here. But that does scare me. It does scare me that this game will come out and it won't be what any of us thought it would be, and it will be insanely disappointing. And all of these people that put 7, 8, however many years of their life into making this game a reality, just see it crumble like that.
Actually thinking about it, I think it's a thing where if it does actually come out, I think we might actually be going into it with like a realistic expectation, because we're like, because there's so much stuff has happened where we're like, it's probably not going to be as good as we hope it to be. And, you know, but maybe it actually will be great. It'll be better than like we, you know, maybe even we thought it would be. But like, maybe we can actually go into it with a realistic expectation at this point, because there's been such a gap between when we first heard about it and when it could potentially come out, and we've known nothing about it. Like, we know so little about it that we can just go into it with like a very realistic expectation of like what this game could just be.
Yeah. Oh my God. This is one of those things, like, we leave for LA on Saturday, and this is one of those things that, like, as Monday I will be at the press conference. We'll all be, you know, watching it. This is one of those things that, like, when I think about it, my stomach just starts like, because like, this game, I want it. Like, it's like, where is it? Like, everybody cares about it. I know I've said that like 5,000 times in the last half hour we've been talking, but like, or however long we've been talking, but like, everybody care. Like, we all care. I have not mentioned The Last Guardian to anyone. Like, Smit's the sports guy, and we're like, The Last Guardian, which is what? It's like a role-playing adventure, right? It's a role-playing game. And Smit's always like, lol JRPGs when I try to talk about them in front of him. But we're like, The Last Guardian, and he's like, oh, and like throws his hands in the air, and it's just like, no. Like, we all it's the king of the mystical unicorn moon babies.
Yeah, like I was saying before, I think it was just with like Shadow, like, look, just sort of extrapolating from where everyone playing Shadow, and just sort of extrapolating from there and just being like, okay, I know what this game is going to be, and I really want to play it. Like, it's going to hurt, but I really want to play it.
It hurts right now, Michael Moore. I'm super bummed out thinking about it right now. I just physically bummed myself out thinking about the possibility of going through another E3 without any Last Guardian news.
Well, we'll have mac and cheese for lunch today. It'll be fine.
Oh, yes. Carb load. Yeah, so that's on Monday. We'll know, hopefully by Monday, the world will know what the flip is going on with The Last Guardian. Thank you, Michael Moore, for embarking on this emotional journey with me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Always. We do good stuff. You guys, as in you viewers, can watch this on YouTube and read other things on Polygon. This will also be on Polygon. You can read other things like our previous coverage of The Last Guardian and stuff like that. We'll be at E3 next week. All of us will be at E3 next week. So follow the site, and we'll have lots of cool stories about cool games for you. Hopefully The Last Guardian, one of them. And hopefully we'll get some closure on some of these mystical unicorn moon babies. Thank you for watching, and take care.